At 8:14 on a Saturday morning, your phone vibrates. Bitcoin received. You are expecting $12 from a friend. Instead, your wallet shows a new balance of $5,018,442. You refresh it. Still there. You check another app. Same transaction. Then you open the public blockchain record. 6 confirmations. The transfer is real, and the Bitcoin network has no customer service desk, no chargeback button, and no manager who can simply reverse it. For about 40 seconds, your brain starts spending money you probably do not own. The mortgage disappears. Your parents retire. You start looking at homes in a neighborhood you could not afford yesterday. Then an email arrives. Treasury transfer error. Those funds belong to Northbridge Capital. Do not move them. Return the full amount immediately to the recovery address below. Everything changes. You now have 4 choices. Return it, move it somewhere safer, sell it, or touch absolutely nothing. One of those choices could turn an innocent mistake into a serious criminal case. Another could leave you without the Bitcoin and still owing the full $5 million. And strangest of all, someone who buys those coins from you later could potentially end up with stronger property law protection than you ever had. So choose now. A, B, C, or D. Choose what you would actually do with $5 million sitting in front of you, not what sounds responsible when there is nothing at stake. Because from this moment forward, every click changes the legal story. Before you touch anything, we are going to run all 4 futures. First, how did $5 million even find you? 8 months earlier, you sold a camera online. The buyer sent a small Bitcoin deposit, and your wallet address remained saved inside his company payment system. This morning, a Treasury employee selected that old address instead of the company cold storage wallet. One stale contact. $5 million. That explains why the Bitcoin arrived. It does not tell us who owns it, because your wallet and the law are now describing 2 different things. The network sees that your private key can authorize a transfer. The law asks why those coins are under your control in the first place. Control answers what you can technically do. Ownership answers what you are legally entitled to keep. And when $5 million suddenly appears, your first thought probably is not unjust enrichment. It is. Is this actually real? That reaction is not the dangerous part. You did not request the transfer. You did not trick anyone into making it. You may initially have no idea who sent it. The critical moment comes later. The moment you learn it was probably a mistake and decide what to do next. Choice A seems obvious. Return it immediately. You copy the recovery address from the email. Your cursor moves toward send. Then another message appears. This one comes through the verified legal contact of Northbridge. Do not send funds to the address in the previous message. That message did not come from us. Someone had been watching the public blockchain. They saw the $5 million transfer arrive at an address that had once been posted beside your online username. They connected the address to you, impersonated Northbridge, and sent their own wallet as the recovery address. If you had clicked send, Bitcoin would have done exactly what you instructed it to do. The scammer could disappear with the coins, and the real Northbridge could still show up asking what happened to its $5 million. That is the first trap. Returning mistaken property is not the same thing as sending it to the first person who claims to be the owner. The identity and authority of the claimant still matter, and with Bitcoin, the fake refund can be every bit as irreversible as the original mistake. So the answer that looked safest 5 minutes ago has suddenly become one of the most dangerous buttons on the screen. Choice B. Move it somewhere safer. Suppose you transfer the Bitcoin into a fresh cold wallet while everyone proves who they are. That sounds responsible. You are not buying anything. You are not selling anything. You are simply protecting disputed property until you know who should receive it. But context changes what an action looks like. Moving your own Bitcoin between wallets is ordinary. Moving $5 million in disputed Bitcoin minutes after being told it arrived by mistake can look very different. And the blockchain preserves the sequence. Wallet 1 receives $5 million. The alleged owner sends notice. Wallet 1 empties into Wallet 2. That sequence does not prove criminal intent by itself. But imagine it displayed on a screen in a courtroom while someone asks why the money moved immediately after the warning arrived. Bitcoin is pseudonymous. It is not invisible. The addresses themselves may not show your name, but the transaction history remains public. And once part of that trail reaches an exchange, bank, merchant, or other account tied to your identity, connecting the pieces can become much easier. Moving the Bitcoin has not made the problem disappear. It has given the problem another address. Then something happens that makes the situation even worse. Bitcoin rises. By Sunday night, the coins are no longer worth $5 million. They are worth $5,800,000. And your brain begins negotiating again. Northbridge accidentally sent $5 million. The other $800,000 appeared while the coins were in your wallet. Maybe that part belongs to you. This is where possession begins feeling like ownership. But the legal question is not necessarily what the Bitcoin was worth when it arrived. If Northbridge is entitled to the property itself, the dispute may concern the Bitcoin, not merely the original dollar value displayed on Saturday morning. Depending on the claim, governing law, and what happened after notice, that extra $800,000 may not be a windfall. It may be the next thing everyone fights over. Which brings us to the most tempting option. Choice C. Sell it before anyone can stop you. Suppose you send $500 worth to a major United States exchange. The transaction confirms. The balance appears. For 10 seconds, this looks like the first option that actually worked. Then the screen changes. Deposit under review. The exchange cannot reverse the Bitcoin transaction that occurred on the blockchain, but it controls the account on its own platform, and that account may contain your name, identification information, bank connections, device records, and transaction history. The supposedly anonymous fortune has just walked into a building with security cameras. And even if the exchange allows the sale, converting Bitcoin into dollars does not solve the underlying ownership dispute. It simply changes the form of the property and creates another record of what you did after receiving notice. Then there is tax. The IRS generally treats digital assets as property, and selling or exchanging digital assets can create reporting and tax consequences. But an erroneous transfer that is actively disputed and subject to a repayment claim is not something you should reduce to a one-line tax answer. The basis, disposition, repayment, and potential income consequences would depend on the facts. And paying tax on a transaction would not magically resolve who owned the Bitcoin. Choice C has not cleaned the money. It has connected the disputed coins directly to you, so we reach the option that feels safest. Choice D. Do absolutely nothing. No transfers, no exchange, no spending, no response. It feels legally neutral because you have not touched the Bitcoin. But silence can have consequences too. Monday morning, someone knocks on your door. A courier hands you a civil complaint demanding return of the Bitcoin and seeking whatever additional relief the law allows. Attached is an emergency application asking a judge to stop the assets from moving while the dispute is resolved. Northbridge claims the transfer was a mistake and wants its property back. The judge cannot rewrite the ledger of the blockchain. But a court does not need an undo button. It can order a person not to transfer disputed assets. It can reach assets held by intermediaries subject to its authority. Litigation can seek identifying records. And ultimately, a court can determine what property or monetary remedy the governing law supports. This resolves one of the biggest misconceptions in the entire story. A transaction can be technically final without making the ownership dispute legally final. And now one fact becomes extremely important. You live in New York. New York does not treat every mistaken delivery as merely an awkward private dispute. Its larceny statute specifically addresses property delivered to someone by mistake. Simply receiving the property is not enough. The dangerous sequence is what comes afterward. You know it belongs to someone else. You know it arrived through a mistake. You develop the intent to deprive the owner of it or appropriate it. And instead of taking reasonable measures to return it, your conduct begins moving in the opposite direction. Think back through the morning. At 8:14, you were surprised. At 8:20, you were warned. At 8:32, if you transferred the coins specifically to make recovery harder, the same blockchain that gave you control could begin documenting a very different story about intent. Receipt, knowledge, intent, conduct. And because we are talking about property worth well above $1 million, prosecutors who could prove the required elements could potentially be looking at first-degree grand larceny under New York law. That is a Class B felony. The statutory maximum can reach 25 years. 25 years is a ceiling, not a prediction of what anyone would actually receive. The real exposure would depend on the applicable law, how the Bitcoin is valued, what prosecutors can prove about intent, and exactly what you did after learning about the mistake. The point is not that accidentally receiving Bitcoin makes you a felon. It does not. The point is that $5 million on a screen can become $5 million attached to evidence about every decision you made after the warning arrived. And now we reach the strangest part of the story. Imagine choice C went much further. You actually sold the Bitcoin. Maya buys it. She pays full value. She obtains control. She acts in good faith. And she has absolutely no notice that Northbridge claims the coins. New York now has UCC Article 12 rules dealing with controllable electronic records. If those rules govern this transaction, and if the Bitcoin interest at issue qualifies under them, Maya could potentially satisfy the requirements of a qualifying purchaser. That matters because a qualifying purchaser can acquire its rights free of an earlier property right claim in the controllable electronic record. You are in a fundamentally different position. You received the coins for free. You did not give value for them. And after the legitimate notice of Northbridge arrives, you certainly cannot claim you had no notice of the dispute. So the bizarre result is possible. The person who honestly buys the Bitcoin from you could end up with stronger protection against the property claim of Northbridge than the person who received those same coins accidentally. But that does not save you. If Northbridge cannot recover the particular Bitcoin from a protected downstream purchaser, that does not make the money you received for selling it magically yours. The fight simply changes form. And now every option has collapsed. Return it blindly, and you might send $5 million to an impersonator. Move it, and your timing could become evidence used to argue intent. Sell it, and you may connect the disputed property directly to your identity while converting the dispute into cash. Ignore everything, and civil proceedings can arrive before you ever decide what to do. None of those actions created ownership. So what actually happens? By Monday evening, investigators confirm that the first recovery email came from an impersonator. Northbridge then substantiates its claim through Treasury records and evidence tying the source wallet to the company. Only after the claimant is verified is the return arranged through documented instructions and paired with a written release. No guesswork. No copying a wallet address from a random email. No second $5 million mistake. Your wallet falls from $5 million back to zero. Then two payments arrive. First, $12. The money your friend originally owed you. Then another payment. $25,000 from Northbridge. A documented cooperation payment for preserving the coins and helping resolve the incident. $25,000 feels tiny compared with the number that sat in your wallet all weekend. But there is one enormous difference. This money was actually meant for you. So can you keep $5 million in Bitcoin that somebody accidentally sends to your wallet? The blockchain gives you control. It does not automatically give you legal title. On the civil side, a true owner may have powerful claims seeking return or restitution. On the criminal side, the accidental receipt itself is not the decisive moment. Knowledge matters, intent matters, and what you do after learning about the mistake can matter enormously. Bitcoin removes the chargeback. It does not remove property law, it does not remove courts, it does not remove injunctions, subpoenas, taxes, or evidence. And in this story, the most dangerous button was never keep. It was send. Because the first person asking for the $5 million back was not the owner at all. So answer the question you were asked at the beginning. When that first email arrived, which one did you choose? A. Return it. B. Move it. C. Sell it. Or D. Touch nothing. This is a United States-focused educational scenario. The exact legal result would depend on the governing jurisdiction, the applicable law, the evidence, and the facts of the transfer.